back to another episode of Life in the Military Spouses Edition. I am I'm intrigued by this one because I think our topic today of spousal support is one that I think everybody's going to have their own input on. And I think that we're going to see a very big difference between your experiences with spousal support and my experience with spousal support. And we're going to show like some really big differences because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, Ash, please do. But I always feel like with your community, the wives are included a little bit more. So I feel like you have a little bit more support, or at least the community is, I feel like, thicker. It's that like true, like we've talked before, is that family like support system. You know, it's through the good, the bad, the ugly kind of thing. Whereas my experience is a very stark, very different option to that. So when the word spousal support comes up for you, what is your thoughts?
Okay, so there's two different facets here that I kind of picture. So, like you just said, with the community that we live in, that and that support, that's one facet. That's like a very personalized facet. With our own community, with our own friendships, with our own like made family. But the other facet that pops into my mind is the support from the military. And for me, for that particular like area, it ranges because like Eric is considered a silent professional. So we kind of adopted that lifestyle. And so whether the support from the actual military was there, we didn't go seek it out anyways, you
Mm.
know. So there's like two different sides here that I am like bouncing back and forth between. And hopefully we can dive into both.
Yeah, because I think you're right. Like it's multifaceted because like I look at it and go, I had one experience of support being in, when Chris was in and active, we had one version of support. Yes, some of it was created in our army family, non-blood family, and we had the military support, I think, or kind of. He had the military support. I did not. So in the spousal range, there's a different version of support while
Yeah.
he was active. First, once he got out, there is a very different support. Like the support is completely different.
Is it more?
Less. Like, I mean, we'll talk because like I am like that's one thing that I don't think I anticipated or realized was, personally, I always felt like the military looked at me in or out. I was just extra baggage and would probably be shooed away eventually.
Yeah.
Get the kids and they went, okay, he's got to pay for them. Like, cool. But they really, truly, or at least the units we were with, never looked at me as true support. Certain ones did, like certain leadership, certain people did, but they never really looked at me and were like, she's a lifer. Like she gets it. She's here. She's stuck. Like she's staying, kind of a thing. They looked at me and they were like a baby mama who's probably going to roll out soon. So why do we care? Like they didn't want to have to work at it. Like that's how I always felt in the realm of support. There just wasn't that thing. Like I was just baggage that had to be moved around.
Yeah.
And so, and I had to create my own support. Like while we had the FRG, which was great. And especially when we were out in Germany, it was essential because like they were deployed. That was how we got together. Like how I was involved in the FRG, and I got information and I was a part of things, and it was supportive. I feel like then you had your man-made community. That was it. I could come to certain people in his leadership, or I could come to certain people and be, they removed the patch is what I always said. They removed the patch, they removed the uniform and saw a person and understood like, hey, come here, what do you need? And saw me for the fact that if it wasn't for me, he probably wouldn't be nearly as happy, or like things wouldn't function as well if I wasn't there. And so they understood like taking me into consideration was important. But otherwise, it was my man-made community. Like I got bypassed by many a doctor. I got bypassed by um the childcare a lot. They were like, well, if you're overwhelmed, just drop them off for daycare. You get X amount of hours. And I was like, I want to know where the group, like the mom group is. Like that's all I'm looking for. Or like even within the church itself, while in and active, it was like one mom group, or at least that's what I always felt like. There was one denomination's mom group, and that was it. And like I couldn't, maybe it's a me thing. I'm gonna say maybe it's a me thing. Put the disclaimer. But I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of support. Now the people that like we either lived in the community, so like Colorado, we lived in the area and we had military neighbors. So we had that version of support, or the people who lived in our apartment in Germany. Those people like are now lifers, but in the realm of like support systems. But even our friend, like I say friends and I go, it's not the friends that we had before the military. Those friends do not get us. They just don't. So they're not even that supportive. And I want to say family was supportive, but they also didn't understand. So they didn't know how to be supportive when they didn't understand what was needed or how, or, they'd be like, well, I'll take the kids. And I'm like, I don't need my kids taken from me. I need somebody else in the house with me. Like they just didn't get it sometimes. And they didn't know how to be the most supportive. So as much as they were there, I don't know if I would call them the spousal support, because they didn't know how to lift us up in the right way, or even fathom some of the difficulties we faced.
I agree. I agree with that. Like it was one of those like things where, at least with the family that you're talking about, the family part of it, it was one of those where they wanted to understand, but, and you would explain to them over and over and over again about what, at least I did, what I'm feeling, or like what my challenges were, at the time. And at that time it was always my child because she was just strong-willed, but you know and just like not really, like they're not grasping the fact that you're just lonely,
Yeah.
That like my partner is gone. my partner my life partner is gone, and I just, so yeah, I get that. For me, gosh, I get irritated. I'm sorry. I get so irritated because part of it is my own doing. But, when I think back on this, it's like, okay, we had the FRG too. Eric started out in the conventional military, and my experience with the FRG was not good. It was one of those typical FRGs where everybody was cliquish and everybody was bad mouthing everybody and trying to ruin everybody's character and all this kind of stuff. It was not a good situation. And so that already put just a bad taste in my mouth, to where I was like, I'm done. I don't give a lot of second chances,
Right.
and I didn't, especially with something like that, and I was like, I'm never going to an FRG thing again. And I never did. Eric, I told him, do not ever give my information to those women. I was like, I will not be associated with any of them. I was so hurt by them, and the trust was so severed that I wanted nothing to do with them. Or I say them, but I'm speaking of the FRG coined term in general. Okay. Like, because I know there's a lot of great women that are involved in that. but I never wanted to be a part of it, like ever again. And I never was. And so I told him, do not give my email, do not give my phone number. So he always gave his because they needed something to relay information, you know? And so he would get all the information. He would never tell me what it was, like only after, like, oh yeah, I know, you know, that kind of thing. But um, so part of that is my own doing, but because there is that stigma of these FRG groups, I think it puts women and us spouses, maybe not even just women, but just spouses in general, which makes it even harder for the male spouses because what do they have?
Right.
Really nothing. Because the FRG groups are a majority, a group of women, you know, and they do women things. They do wine nights and like they go and try do like spa days and when they can, you know, like and so it's like they don't care about that. Like, come on, man. And so, but I got really irritated because, you know, other than the FRG, even be transitioning into the SF like lifestyle, it was there. Uh it wasn't as what's the word I'm looking for? Like cliquish. It wasn't as like political, it wasn't as like rank system. It
Mhm.
and so like it was still there, but it still wasn't something like it wasn't consistent enough to be what I needed.
Right.
And then on top of that, and again, it's probably my own doing, it wasn't advertised enough
Correct.
to even make you want to go, even though you knew you didn't want to go, you know, like, so for that aspect, I get just like, sometimes I just get pissed off. Like, I'm just so over it. And and so that's why, and a lot of the team wives, um, that's why we just became our own support system,
Right.
you know, why we did become family because they've all been burned by FRG. They've all had those hard, like nasty experiences there. And so it's like, we just wanted to, you know, hang out, chill, no drama. And for the most part, that's what it was. Like there was every once in a while where a new wife or somebody that would come in from a different lifestyle, and there was some things that happened, but you know, you just kind of roll with it. And then, you
Right.
know, all of us wives were pretty bold in saying, hey man, like we don't do that here. Like either chill out or like I don't know, find some place else because we just want to live life. I mean, granted, we're all living life without our husbands anyways, but we just want to live it the best we can,
Right.
you know? So yeah, for that, it just got me so, even thinking back, I just get so irritated.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've all in any aspect of military life. I know we're both Army, so it's called FRG, Family Readiness Group. I don't know if it's called something different to the other branches or not. But it was our supposed to be the spousal connection, right? Like the military to spouse connection there. And we've all been burned by different organizations. We've all been, you know, had the bad moment, or we've had the oh, did you hear, or what about this one, or this our FRG is a mess, or you know, we've all had that you know, experience. And I even coming in was braced that your FRGs are clicky, they're nasty, stay out of them. Like I literally was braced as I moved into Germany. I was like looking forward to this concept, and I was braced that it's clicky, it's nasty, steer clear. And I was like, okay, but it's my connection to my husband downrange. Like that was literally what I kept thinking. I was like, this is supposed to be the connection between me and the guys. I can't do this by my, like, what? And so in Germany, I utilized it that, as that such thing, right? I utilized it as my connection to my husband downrange. That was it. The minute we came back, I stepped away. because I was not, like you said, there was more drama in that FRG of who's like who's sleeping with whose husband and this is happening here and this. I was like, nope, done, out. Like I utilized it for the connection I needed to utilize it for, and I'm out. When we get to Colorado, though, I do agree that it it wasn't publicized. It wasn't utilized. It wasn't even spoke about. So I didn't even know who was in charge of any of it. I had no idea what was like that they did activities or didn't do activities or didn't meet up. Like I had no idea that there was even an FRG because there was zero communication for it. I would just ask my husband, be like, so is there something going on? Like, are we supposed to be somewhere? What about this meeting? Like, are we supposed to have meetings? Are we, what's going on? And then when he would be like, oh no. And I was like, okay, cool. So can you ask so-and-so's family to come on over? Like, can you talk to the guy to talk to his wife to come over? Like we would just make it happen. But
Right.
I think that that's part of being in is yes, we've all had that burned moment. And so we feel like the support is just gone. And you can't, at least from the normal side of the military or like, you know, our side, the conventional side, I couldn't go to his leadership and be like, I need help. Or how do I seek help? Like I couldn't go into anyone's office and be like, hey, they'd look at me and be like, why are you here? And then they'd penalize him and he'd get in trouble for it. And then other times you felt bad, like they're on the conventional side in the realm of support, you knew patient doctor confidentiality was a load of junk. Like it wasn't happening. You knew the minute that if you were to go in for any sort of mental health conversation, his command was getting informed. I was like, so if I try to seek help right now, he's going to possibly lose promotion and get in trouble, or we get put on a list, right? We get put on like some,
Like a watch list or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And now he's in trouble or not in trouble, but he's on a list that doesn't need to be on, like not the good list, not the promotion list.
Mm-hmm.
He could lose promotion because I went to seek help. I'm like, this is so backwards. And so I just didn't feel like, I felt like there was support, but it was from fellow spouses. It was from the guys. It was from those that I put myself in relationships with, was where the support came from.
It's almost like the military had like a check the box, like provide support. Okay, done, but it wasn't anything that was of value,
Correct.
you know? Like it's there because they have to say that it's there, but
Yeah.
they're going to use it against you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Now,
my husband would
of air.
never my husband would never want me to go, like if I ever needed some help, he's like, no, like you don't come to the team room, like I never knew. And so it's like, even now it's like, I only have been inside the buildings that he's worked over the almost 20 years that he's been in. Maybe, so he's been on 3 different teams. So 2 in Colorado, then Germany. I didn't even go into the one in North Carolina. So maybe I've only been into 4 different rooms, maybe 2 to 3 times max each location. Like I've never really like been in there. Like, and he's just like you can let me know, I'll meet you outside. But it's like, I'm like, but this is where it kind of was, I was like, okay, like whatever, I get it, it's your job. Like that's you, it's not me. Like,
Yep.
but on the flip side of it was always like, because like if I ever need you, where can I find you?
Right.
And I never, like, for a little bit of lack of support even from my husband on in that sense, because I didn't never know where, and then like sometimes he didn't have signal, sometimes he was out, like not necessarily on a deployment, but just out training. Like,
Right.
what if I ever needed something? Like,
Right.
so I mean, that I don't know. I don't, it's just another thing I'm thinking about where it's like there just was no support
Right.
for me.
Right. And I feel like I agree with you. Like, I knew the building that Chris worked at. Like, he was on two different bases, one in Germany, one in Colorado. And I knew the location of like headquarters. Like, I knew where headquarters was. I couldn't tell you how much my husband actually stayed there. I couldn't tell you if he was ever there. I mean, I knew where the motor pool was. I could tell you where that was. That was one thing I didn't know where the motor pool was. And I could figure out how to get like, but even then it was like, I'll meet you outside. Don't come in. I'll meet you outside. And I was like, why the like, and then you start to second guess yourself as a spouse because then you feel like, well, why can't I come in? Why
Right.
don't you like it? When I was working corporate, I would have him and the kids come in. I would have him, come into the jobs, hang out for a minute, look around. Like I introduced him to the people I worked with. And I was always like, are you not proud of me? Like, then you start to play the mental game of questioning and doubting because now you're like, I don't even know this is a whole part of your life that I have no idea about.
Yes. Right. And then that's when it gets dangerous. That's a whole nother topic, but that's when things get dangerous because if you let that fester and, like it just eats at you and eats at you. And then like, yeah, it just grows and then it can just grow into something else, but that's a whole nother topic.
Well, and
So
I think that I don't know if I expected much when we left the military. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I expected much because like while in, I couldn't get a lot of support. So like there's little no support inside of it. I don't know if I was expecting much on the outside world, but then you find out just how little support is outside for the veteran spouses. There is nothing. Like, and I say that nothing, but I know now, yes, after some massive research of my own, that the VA does have support for spouses. If you go to the VA's website, you can find different trainings, different videos of spousal support, and you can find all of that. But it's on my research. It's me looking up things for me to find military related support for a spouse. It is not handed to you. It is not even recognized to you. It's not even given to your spouse to hand to you. Like it was not given to me without my own searching. And I think it was actually given to me by you, not even from like, it was from my own research in you. Like that was it.
yeah. Well, and then part of it is because, Eric, with being in the retirement office now, he's learning about all the different avenues. Before that, we had no idea. And, even being still in, there are avenues and things for spouses, and the support for us.
Yes.
However, again, it goes back with either being in or now you being out. It goes back to it's not advertised. It's
Right.
not advertised well at all. So, there, like you said, you had to dig like that. This is wrong. This is backwards, like, yes, there's things for veterans and for our guys, but even that's limited and they have to go and search for it too. So you think that for us wives, there's going to be anything with like big flashy lights? No. And I feel like it's wrong. I mean, one, for our veterans, for our guys anyways, because it should not be that hard. It shouldn't take that much effort if they need the help because they have the firsthand trauma, they have the firsthand experience to find anything. But on the secondary for us spouses, like I maybe this is me thinking like I'm an entitled perspective. I don't know. But I feel like it should go coincide with each other, you know? it should be like, okay, here's yours. And, here's, if your wife needs anything, like these are the things that she has, access to as well,
Right.
and it's just not like that. It's not,
No,
it's there. It is there. We're learning that it is there, but it's like, we need somebody, I don't know who it is, but they need to figure out a different way to give the information.
and yes, I don't know. Is it giving the information? Is it providing information? Like, I don't know where the lapse is, because I agree with you 100%. Like, the guys barely get support, and it does come with loops and jumping through hoops, and it's a lot of work on their part to even get the help. And I get that. Like, I also understand everybody will come for it. Yes, the VA is busy. I get it. I understand, at least from the outside, from the veterans perspective, I get this. Like, 100% understand that when there's lack of resources and an influx of people who need the resource, like, there's a difficulty. And I get that 110%. But at the same time, again, you almost feel like you're just dropped baggage. You just
Yeah.
feel like you dropped. Okay, cool, you're done. See ya. And that's it. Like, pack your bags, you're out, bye. And there's nothing after that. And I remember there was one time when Chris had an appointment for his PTSI, and we were sitting there, and it's like appointment number 4, and we've done all of this work, and they're like, there's still more tests and there's still more things. And they were like, oh, and by the way, are you married? He's like, everything for the last 7 or 8 years has said that I'm married. Like, are you serious? Like, every paperwork says that I'm married. And he's like, yes, I'm married. And they're like, oh, well, do you think she would want to come with you to one of these appointments? Because we would like to hear her perspective on your problems. And I was like, cool, yes, sign me up. Let's go. Like, right. I was the biggest person to like support this 100%. I will sit in any meeting you want me to sit in. And it was just interesting. Like, at that moment, that's the point in time where you could have asked the spouse, like, I see you supporting this. I see you're dealing with, like, even if you don't want to diagnose me, but you want to look at me and go, I see you dealing with a lot. Here's a resource. No, it was, thanks for coming. See you later. Bye. We'll let you. And we were like, what? Like, what? We'll let you know.
Yeah, because their mindset is not on us. Their mindset is on the guys. They want to hear from us to add to the guys' list of stuff. It's not to help us, it's to help them.
Which I want to help. Like, I don't want to sound like I want to be like, woe is me, and everybody needs to cater to me. But at the same time, like, I'm here to support, but that comes with a toll. Like, you can't tell me it doesn't come with a toll. You know it does.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're here to support. We love them dearly. We would do anything for them. But there still should be something, some avenue of support in the realm of dealing with it. Because as much as the guys have walked in and they're dealing with trauma, and we've talked about it with spousal PTSI, and we will talk about it in future episodes again, where their difficulties become ours. We hold the burden. Yes, we joined up with them, whether that's through marriage and he's already in, or like mine, where I signed up knowing that this was coming, right? I left everything just as much as he's left everything. I've walked away from my home and had to pack it up more times than I would like to. Like, the sound of packing tape makes me want to cringe. Just as much as it does for him. Why would we not be looking at it as the joint venture, right? Why would we not be looking at it cohesively as the person who, I had to deal with separation. I had to deal with the loss of a partner that came back to me. He came back to home. I got a whole different person.
Yep.
Like, we're not talking. I think this is a topic that I think it fires both of us up. mostly because it's not talked about. The spouses are just left quiet. Magnolia, please.
Or
And we're
like,
be the support, carry the burden. You'll be fine.
or it's like, oh, well, go talk to chaplain so and so.
Yes.
You know, that's actually what I've noticed is like not for me personally, but just what I've observed from other people is that's the direction that they always get pointed to first. Do I know what comes after that? I don't know. And remember, guys, like this is mine and Stephanie's experience. This is what we've seen, what we've dealt with. Um, could there be somebody like that has had Buko's amount of support from somebody? Absolutely. But man, like this is something that we've dealt with firsthand through all of the years of us being in. So just kind of keep mind of this. If you've had a different experience, please let us know. Because we would love to
Right.
hear it, because again, like there's so many different facets, and there's other people that can learn from every aspect of it, so if you've had a different experience, please let us know. But anyways, um that's kind of the direction I've always felt like us spouses have been given first is, okay, go talk to chaplain, X, Y, and Z, and then like he'll be able to help you or give you direction. I never seen anything come from it. I never seen anything progress beyond.
I 100%. I get told, I remember being told, go to chaplain so and so. And I was like, oh, okay. I got my faith. I don't need somebody like, I think that's where I was like, okay, you want me to talk to the chaplain about what? Like, I get and know my faith pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for something to do here. And I don't know if the chaplain's got it, unless
Right.
he's got an prescription pad hiding in that desktop drawer. I'm not seeing it coming. Like, and I understand like the chaplain is the large connection point between the medical and the military, and they're supposed to be that filter, and they're supposed to be the connection point, and I get that. But what then? What next? And then as a spouse on the veteran end of it, okay, yes, that's useful in the military, but now I have no chaplain outside of this world. I don't have a chaplain. I now have to look at a civilian doctor and try to explain to a civilian doctor, not even a VA doctor. I can't, like, I understand that because Chris didn't retire, we are not all covered. But so he's only covered by the VA. So I can't make a VA appointment and sit and talk to a VA doc. I have to talk to a civilian doctor, and I have to sit there and look at them and be like, why do I have OBs all over half the United States internationally? Why do I have kids that were born in literally 4 different states or 4 different cities? Why do I have to explain to them what's going on mentally when they have no clue? Like, there's no like military, are you a veteran shows up like on some of the questions. Yeah, I'm not a veteran. I can't claim that. That's not my job. Does that mean I still deal with it? Yeah. Yeah, I still have things. And so it's hard because like as a spouse, you're like, I feel like I'm sitting here, and I even made a note of like what support I had, right? And now I look at it, I'm like, I don't have it, because even the friends that I had before in the military, some of them are still in and they're busier than can be, and they are at a different stage in life. And then others that I've gained outside of the military, they are civilians.
Mm-hmm.
Again, having no idea of this experience in life that I've lived, they look at me and they're just in like confusion and awe. They have no idea. So it's back to that, like, I sit here and I go, the support I have is my husband. and he is unstable. So I don't really know how much support I'm getting. You know, you kind of chuckle at it, but you're like, I've lost so much. I've given, and I don't feel like I've gained. And like you said, maybe this is feeling a little entitled. Cool. Some will come at us for it, some will support us in it, but it truly does feel like that. Like I gave up and I have given to not receive anything is a hard pill to swallow, especially for the amount of years that some of us have put in. You know, we did 7, you've done 20. You're like, I mean, I've given, maybe not, maybe I didn't sign the dotted line, but I've given too. Where's the return?
Yeah. It reminds me, I think, I can't remember when we had talked about it and what episode it was in, but it reminds me of you had mentioned that somebody came up to you and was like, well, thank you for your service too, or thank you for your sacrifices too. And you were like taken back, you know, it's like, because you didn't do anything, right? And I think it
Right.
was once that happened to me, and same thing. I'm like, well, he's the service member, you know, like I'm just the wife, you know, but you know, thinking back on it, like, yes, I sacrificed my husband. I sacrificed
Yeah.
my husband. I sacrificed our relationship for this country and and for, you know, all of us Americans and for our freedom. And again, like I don't ask for much. I don't really care like if I get just like a team of people wanting to help me, but I just want something to and someone to tell me like it's okay. Like you like what you did like or what you're doing, like you're going to get through it. You're okay. Um thank you in a way. Like I don't know, I don't maybe not even a thank you. That sounds weird, but like I
But
don't
it
know
is,
what I'm trying to say, but it just like an acknowledgement of
yeah.
like that we're messed up as well.
And I
And
think it's a true thought process. It's like, yeah, maybe it's not the word like thank you, but acknowledging that we did something. We were a part of it. We acknowledgement, just acknowledgement. And I think that's why, like you said, that when somebody told us, like, oh, thank you for your service, you're like, your instantaneous response is like, I didn't do anything. And yet, because we've been told the entire time we didn't do anything. We've been told that. We've been conditioned in the way that we're not doing anything. We didn't sacrifice anything. Yet we've sacrificed our identity and our jobs and our families. We've, sacrificed our relationships, our marriages. Like we've sacrificed a lot. So, but we, as military personnel and spouses, we haven't been, that sacrifice hasn't been recognized. And even then, the American population doesn't even look at it as a sacrifice. You signed up for this.
yes.
Okay, but so did my husband, and you're thanking him. Like my husband knew the sacrifice, like made a sacrifice too, and you're still thanking him. Not like I want like ticker tape parades because I'm like epic or anything. No, but I would, hearing that moment of like somebody seeing my husband and then looking at me and going, thank you for your service. You're like shocked because someone recognizes that it took a team, that it took 2 of us to get him home, and that we do this. And so it's that acknowledgement, and you're in shock. More like, not that you don't want to accept it, it's because you're shocked because for the first time in who knows how long, someone else has acknowledged that you participated. Even in the military, you're not being told thank you. You're not being recognized. You're, like I said, I was looked at as like extra baggage. So now you're like, somebody's actually recognizing my part in this. And you literally don't have words for it because you're like, thanks, I guess.
I love that you said that word participated
Yep.
like it's like, the whole one whole body, but many parts, right? And it's all working together for like one thing. And we're part of that body. We're part of the little, if the military is our whole body,
Yep.
we're part of it. And
Yeah.
it needs us to function at 100%. And so and we did participate, our emotions were totally shattered. Our families were separated. Our marriages were put on,
Challenged.
yeah, challenged, so we did participate in it all. We may not have had firsthand experience. We obviously we weren't the ones going overseas. We weren't the ones actually running and gunning. We weren't the ones of trying to find bombs. We weren't the ones, on a dive team or, up in the air flying like a pilot. Like we weren't those people,
Right.
but we held on. We were, what did they call us? Home fronts or uh household six. Household six. That's what Eric. I have to go check with household six. And but like we held down the fort here so that they didn't have to worry while they were doing their job.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
and you're right. Like participation is a big word, but like Eric says, it's home front six. Without home front, I mean, we've watched many single soldiers, or at least I have many single soldiers struggle through the moments of this whole thing, and then they come home and now they're trying to like create families and they don't know how to create them because the person that they're standing next to doesn't even get it. And it's like, to think, I understand, like we've talked before, is that the divorce rate is sky high within the military. I get that, because of the fact, I mean, I don't want to say it's only because of the fact, but I bet if there was more support, the divorce rate would drop. I'm going to put it that way. Like, I think if there was more support for the whole family or the spouses, and there was just more support put all together, I think that we wouldn't have the divorce rate that we do. Because, but that's a disclaimer. Like, that's just a thought process
I
of
think also to just add to what you're saying, I think if the support that they already have doesn't have the stigma of that they're going to get in trouble, it would
correct.
be less divorce.
Right.
Because obviously they have something, but instead of it just being like, okay, check the box, like for the military to provide it, actually like invest in that and invest in our families, like when they have that time and when they are in need, you
Right.
know, don't just be like, oh, one shoe fits all, one size fits all.
Yeah.
And, what worked for this family is going to work for this one, this one, this one. No, like take the time, be intentional. Like the military, if they were just intentional with what they already provide, I think it would already make a big difference. And then, of course, if they added more support, then that would be even great. But just even to utilize what they already have, would be huge.
Yeah. So as you're talking, an analogy, kind of a picture came into my head of a punching bag. Okay. And if you think of this punching bag, there's a chain that holds the punching bag up, right? And some part of that, if you don't maintain the punching bag, you don't maintain its support that holds it to the ceiling, right? If you don't maintain this thing, eventually the punching bag is going to need to get thrown out. And yes, the guys in this analogy, in my head, this image that comes to my mind as you were speaking was, yes, the guys are that punching bag,
Hmm.
right? And they kind of just continue to get worn out and then they get thrown out, right? But
Yeah.
that support system is still holding them together. Like, it's still there. It's still an active part of it. If you don't take care of that support system, whatever that looks like, whether it's a chain or a thing to the ceiling, like there's something supporting that punching bag. If you don't maintain that, it comes off the ceiling, like it comes out of the wall, and it's no longer functionable.
Yeah.
why are we taking care of that punching bag and its support? Like, I understand we purchased it,
Yeah.
but we can't just chuck it out and not look at the support too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good analogy.
It came to my head. Great.
Good job.
I'll take props for that one. But it's true, because I think more than anything, what I want spouses to get from today's episode more than anything is truly the thank you. We acknowledge your sacrifice, your participation. We understand that there is not the greatest support. That's why we have this podcast. It's why we're creating the community we are, is because we understand that there is a lack there.
Yeah.
And we're trying to help create the bonds, field that situation so that that support becomes more announced. We're willing to talk about topics that probably nobody else wants to. We're going to shine some lights that others would like us to not shine, because guess what? We need to start speaking up. And I want all the listeners to just understand that we see you. We understand you. Your situations might be different than ours, and we get that. But that doesn't mean that you don't deserve support, and we're here for support. We thank you for your participation and support. We thank you for doing what you do on a daily basis, whether you're in or you're out, it doesn't matter. We thank you for doing this, but we also want you to know that you matter. What you've done, what you've sacrificed, what you've given up, all matters, and somebody sees it. So I really hope that that the listeners and everybody can take that away today as the big point of why this is so important to us, and why you as listeners are so important to us, because we understand that there's a gap and we want to help fill it, even if we're not medical professionals.
Yeah. And even if we're not physically there, right? Like, we're here. You can chat with us. Like, we will do our best to just listen, because that's a lot of it. Like, we don't have anybody you want to talk, and you have no one to listen to, right? So we are here all the time.
Literally all the time.
All the time.
That's on the podcast, that's on YouTube, that's on socials. I mean, we're here for you guys. So just thank you. Thank you, Ashley, for being here, for your support, for your participation, both as a spouse and as a friend. Thank you. And thank you for your support.
Thank you. You've walked this life so gracefully, my friend. And I'm so proud to call you friend.
Some days I'm not always feeling very, very graceful, but thank you.
It's the big picture, right? And it's so hard because, we are our worst critics. Someone who's looking from the outside in is able to like share and shine that light on what you are doing. So also find your friends, find the ones that are going to encourage you, find the ones that are going to love you through it, who are not going to be afraid to have these hard conversations with you. Open up that dialogue, get deep in your friendships. Don't just stay surface level, because there's so much beauty and joy having a friend like that, like having, like, how I have Stephanie, she has me, and we both have some other friends in our lives that we can open up to like that. Like, it's a very special thing. So find those friends.
Yeah. And if you have people in your life right now that you're like, they're friends, but I'm not going to share this, you're like, we need to find new friends. Like, I love you guys, but we need to find new friends. Like, switch them up, change them around, do something different. Make sure that you become your biggest advocate. Like, if that means seeking medical professional help, then find the medical professional that works for you. If it's seeking a friend group, or a church group, or a mom group, like whatever group you have to find. If it's going to the VA on their website and looking up the support systems that they have out there for spouses. I mean, it's going to take work on our part, because until we start making changes, changes won't happen. So if we start speaking up and we start doing the research and we start finding the places, then things will start happening. But it doesn't happen unless we make things happen. So I want to make sure that everybody follows along for the podcast. Continue to follow us on socials here, YouTube, all the places, and follow along with us because we have more episodes coming. We were talking before we got on about future episodes and the next one's coming and how exciting these are going to be. So make sure you're following along and you're here for the fun and the tough topics sometimes, but for it all.
That's right.
So we'll talk later, guys. Make sure you're following along and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.